Rime of the Frostmaiden suffers from the same issue as many other 5th edition campaigns, and that is there's not a whole lot for the characters to do with their gold. In fact, in Rime of Frostmaiden this is an even bigger issue because 10 towns is described as struggling and poor, making it even harder to find a logical place for the characters to go shopping. So in this video I'll take a look at how you can help the player characters in your Icewind Dale Rime of the Frostmaiden campaign get rid of all that gold that is weighing them down. Alright, so first off, my name is J.A. Waller with Eventyr Games, the adamantine best-selling publisher of DM's resources, including DM's resources for Icewind Dale Rime of the Frostmaiden. The topic for this video was actually chosen by our patrons over at patreon.com/eventyr. We have a great community over at Patreon, and some of the ideas and thoughts that are being shared about Icewind Dale and other campaigns is what really helps inspire these videos. So a huge thank you to our patrons, and especially the legend tier patrons, which should be coming up on your screen right about now. Alright, so the topic of today's video is, as I've mentioned, how we can help player characters spend their gold in Rime of the Frostmaiden. Now you could argue that it's not such a big issue in Icewind Dale Rime of the Frostmaiden because there's also fewer opportunities for the characters to actually acquire gold. And that's something that I agree partly with, because there is not a whole lot of gold floating around Icewind Dale. Some of the quests do offer rewards, but these rewards are often quite limited. They're not huge amounts that you would need to spend immediately. There are some exceptions though, as a few of the quests will give larger rewards, and then there's also the Cauldron of Plenty, which is mentioned in Easthaven, which the characters, if they do acquire it, can sell for up to 5,000 gold pieces, and that is of course a huge sum in relation to anything else that is in the adventure. So in today's video I'll be discussing 3 solutions. One of them is simply gold taxes or expenses of living. The other is shopping locally in 10 towns, and then there'll also be shopping outside of 10 towns. As for the first solution, which is simply establishing some gold sinks, i.e. places where the characters can spend their gold or will need to spend their gold to actually just participate in the adventure. There are some obvious ones that are always included in campaigns. This is lodging and food, and you could argue that maybe especially food is more expensive in Icewind Dale, so instead of costing 5 silver pieces for a daily ration, it's 1 gold piece. If you have five characters in your party and they're traveling around for, let's say, 20 days all told before getting to Ithrin and the glacier, well, that's actually a significant sum of gold they'll have to spend just on enough food to live. Then of course there's also transportation. You have the sled dogs, axe beaks, and whatever other means the characters use, and these also have a cost 50 gold pieces and up, which is included in the book and which will also demand some of the party's resources. In addition, you can also decide that if the characters are non-local, they're not accustomed to Icewind Dale, they will need guides to get around to the various locations. If they hear about the goblins at Cargalog, they'll need someone to take them there, and these guides could charge exorbitant fees, so 20, even 50 gold pieces for just getting the characters to their destinations. You could maybe tell the players, or have the guide tell the players, that without their help they will encounter more dangerous creatures or terrain hazards and so on, so that the characters are more likely to spend some of their hard-earned gold on actually just getting from A to B. Lastly, there's also the option for the characters to invest in 10 towns. There's an opportunity for this in Lonelywood, where they can buy or simply receive the deed to Ramshackle Inn, which they can then restore and run. There is of course the issue that the characters will be spending the latter half of the campaign inside Ithrin or underneath the Wrecked Glacier, so they probably can't run the day-to-day of an inn or another shop, but they can invest in something that will be there when they get out of Ithrin and have saved 10 towns. Next up, there's also the opportunity to shop locally. Now it makes sense that 10 towns as a struggling frontier community doesn't have a whole lot of expensive stuff lying around. As for actually buying huge expensive items, if you get your hands on those 5,000 gold pieces from the Cauldron of Plenty and so on, it stands to reason that just 1 or 2 shops in 10 towns, such as Triglio in Targos or a similar place, could sell expensive gear such as a plate mail or similar armor that has a huge price tag that will actually make a dent in the characters' pockets. Another thing that would make sense is for local characters to sell potions and poultices, stuff they can get out from the wilderness and brew themselves. So this could be potions of healing, potions of cold resistance, stuff that is very valuable to the characters, or helpful at least, and that has a price tag of 50 or maybe even 100 gold pieces. If you want to make potions a more enticing option, a house rule we have at my table is that you can take a potion as a bonus action. This is something that really helps making potions viable in combat instead of making them a wasted action. There's also the possibility that certain townsfolk have acquired or inherited magic items that they are now looking to sell because they either want to simply survive in 10 towns or they want to leave 10 towns and want to have some gold for the journey and so on. So if these locals hear about the characters maybe coming into wealth after selling the Cauldron of Plenty or completing some or another quest, they could seek out the characters to sell them this item. This could be an inherited Giant Slayer sword or a belt of dwarven kind. One of our patrons over at patreon.com/eventyr, Aslan, also suggested Renderville's Emporium, which is a shop that is mentioned in Storm King's Thunder but not included in Icewind Dale, Rime and Frostmaiden. This shop in Bryn Shander is run by a Waterdavian who has a large supply and is sort of put forward as the main shop in town that has vastly greater inventory than all other shops and also makes a good enough profit that it's likely that it could sell perhaps just a handful of magic items. This could, for example, be a pair of boots of the Winterlands or a cloak of protection or some similar generally useful item that it would make sense for a big shop and only the biggest shop to have lying around. Another solution for this issue is to give the characters some options to shop outside of 10 towns. Because while 10 towns is poor and struggling, that doesn't have to stand for every location and every civilization within Icewind Dale. The dwarves of Dwarven Valley, for example, is a very good candidate for someone who would not only have, let's say, a plate mail and expensive arms and armor, but also actual magical items. Canonically, Brunner Battlehammer, the namesake of the clan, actually forged a magical warhammer for his son. There's a whole story about that. I won't bore you with details, but he actually was involved with forging magic items, and it wouldn't be unlikely that some of the dwarves in the Dwarven Valley have the same sort of rune magic that allows them to make magic items. So this could be stuff like a mace of smiting, a dwarven armor, or a mithril armor, and so on. Likewise, the Wrecked Barbarians or the Goliath tribes may not have been hit as hard as 10 towns as well, and could have 1 or 2 magic items lying around that they'll be willing to sell to the party when they stop by or meet them at a chance meeting. That could be something like a silver horn of Valhalla or a Dragon Slayer sword or a similar item that they'll be willing to sell or trade with the party. Finally, there's also the opportunity for the character to bump into a wandering merchant. Whether that's a caravan of merchants simply traveling to or from Icewind Dale, or it's a more mystical creature, or whatever else is up to you. We are actually cooking up a Frost Giant merchant for our upcoming book, Wanderer's Guide to Merchant Magic, which is live on Kickstarter right now. There's a link to that somewhere below, which would be a Frost Giant merchant that could be wandering around an Arctic environment such as Icewind Dale, and we'd go into the inventory of the giant, what it's selling and how it's bargaining and so on. We hope to put a sample up for the Frost Giant merchant next week, probably, for our patrons over at patreon.com/eventyr, and we'll maybe share some details here in a video or other places as well. In any event, having a wandering merchant gives you this opportunity to have the character stumble into something that they can buy with all the gold. Such a merchant could also show up in a place like Ithrin. This could be a planar traveler like some of the fiends that are already included in Eventyr. It could also be a construct such as an iron golem who is still selling the wares off the shelves as if nothing had happened with the town, even though everything around it is in ruins. For more information on actually creating a magic merchant of your own, we have a video on that, which I'll also try to put a link to somewhere over here. Alright, so that's it for this one. If there's anything that you wanted me to make more clear, please sound off in the comments below. I try to make a point out of answering every comment that I get. So if there's something you're unsure about or you want me to expand upon, please just let me know and I'll do my best to give you a quick answer. I want to once again thank our patrons for supporting the channel and also helping us decide which videos to do. It's such an awesome community, and I'm honestly super happy that with 60 patrons now or more, we're reaching a critical mass where the discussion we're having and the votes are really something that impacts how I view the content that we create or how we are creating videos for Icewind Dale, Rime and Frostmaiden, and so on. So if you want to be a part of that and you want cool weekly content that often fits in with Icewind Dale, you can consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/eventyr. But yeah, that's it for me. I hope this video was useful to you and that you have a great day, and then I'll see you in the next video.